Hello there, my friends. Happy Saturday if you're listening on Saturday. I am joined today by Christian Finnegan. It's been way too long since he and I spoke. We taped a great conversation at the end of the week. I'm very happy to share it with you. I'm down in Washington, D.C., where I'm going to be attending the Glenn Kirshner special subscriber event tonight, as I have the past couple of years. Very excited to be here. Always a great time. I love coming down here and got to see some friends and listener friends, good listener friends of mine. It was really exciting to hang out with Karen Madison, as always, last night. Bill B. was there. Ty was there. My friend Mark Lipsky showed up. And we had a great old time and really, really fun. And then later on, Allison Gill of Mueller, She Wrote came out with Harry Dunn, Capitol Police Officer. We hung out. So we all had a great time. It was really cool to be able to introduce them to Allison and Harry. And so doing good here in D.C. Hope you're having a great weekend. Hopefully you like my conversation with Christian today. As always, follow Christian on all the social media outlets and go subscribe to his newsletter, which is so good. New music for olds.substack.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Christian Finnegan.
Recording hasn't started
yet.
Mike.
I'm just doing the audio. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2... Oh, there he is, Christian Finnegan. Such a pleasure to see you.
Where is he?
It doesn't look like him because he's got a new beard.
That is, oh yeah. And I'm not talking about my wife, ladies and gentlemen.
She is off ice skating in Lake Placid. You guys live a fascinating life on Instagram.
Truly bon vivants. When you say we, you mean her. I don't think I've put anything up on Instagram for months.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. No, but she documents a lot. Yeah, she is currently in Lake Placid. She took a spill a couple days ago and hit her head on the ice, which is unfortunate, but she seems to be okay. And she was a little nervous about getting back on the ice, and so she was like, why am I up here? And I've spent this money to be here and I don't even really want to skate, because she was kind of scared about it. Yeah. But she's up and doing her thing again. So
wow, that is a tough thing to overcome. I could see anybody, and I've heard many a skier, cyclist, you bang the head, you're like, I'm out. You could never blame a person for it. So
well, and it's like one of those things where, I was certainly encouraging her, like, you should get back out on the ice, like, as soon as you feel ready, just so that it doesn't start to congeal in your head, this notion that it's right terrifying, right. What I mean? Like, you don't need to be doing any triple sow cows. Well,
I think it's impressive. She's now wearing a kicker's helmet as well, which I think she's help.
Actually wearing one of those, like, she's doing it in one of those bubbles that you see, like the new, like on American Gladiators, so they'd be in a giant.
Why is she also wearing one of those collars that dogs wear after a surgery? I don't understand how that's going to protect her.
That's just fashion.
Oh, you have a new toy, you were saying right before I hit record, and I said save it for the air. What? I don't want to build it up.
It's called the Fleshlight. No,
Hey, I'll do. I would absolutely sell those to people if they work.
What do you mean you would sell them like door to door?
Like, I'd do a live read, for a sex toy. I would do a live read for a sex toy.
Oh, like as a sponsor.
Why not? Are
you listening, Fleshlight Inc.? Come on.
Sounds like you've done a corporate for them with their actual corporate name.
Fleshlight LLC. Actually, it's Fleshlight and Sons.
Oh. Wow.
The West Hampton Fleshlights?
Oh, I didn't know it was around that long. It was
it's a family business.
Multi-generational. Yeah, you would have thought it.
I mean, and what a coincidence that they happen to end up selling sex toys. It just could not have been more fortuitous.
Turn of events. What'd you get now? What is your toy?
No, my toy. This is the thing that's going to churn everything around for me. And it's called a Remarkable 2, and I am not getting paid. I just got it a couple days ago. It's a tablet, but you write on it. It comes with a stylus, and it feels like paper, and you write on it, and you can take notes, and you can then convert that to text, or you can, email it to yourself as a PDF, and there's like a highlighter, and like there's a pen, there's a pencil setting and a pen setting, and it's pressure sensitive, so you can draw with it, and you can, for me, I just find that I love writing in notebooks. It's I'm much freer. I don't get nearly as deer in the headlights as I do when I'm trying to write on the computer. I write really slowly on my laptop. Yep. And in a notebook, I write pretty quickly, but then it's just in a notebook and I can't do anything with it. And I have 15 half-filled notebooks lying around the apartment. And this thing is pretty damn cool. And I think it will definitely help in that capacity. Or I've just lied. I have 100 days to decide whether this is just a panic purchase.
The paper tablet is a minimalist's dream. The Remarkable 2.
Yeah, you can't get on the internet with it. Like it connects, like you can email yourself stuff and you can, connect to Dropbox or Google Drive and things like that, but you can't go to a web page.
Wow. I want to see what happens with that. I'm going to follow up with you on that. I wanted to ask you, as I always go through your Twitter timeline and always wishing you're one of the few people that I wish would just write more tweets. I love Twitter still. I like that I can go on a person's timeline and read whatever they wrote or shared. And I have a lot of fun on yours. I just laughed my ass off at that comedian who sings funny songs. I'm forgetting his name.
Oh, yeah. Nick Lutzko.
Oh, it was really funny.
He's very funny. He's a funny dude.
And then I saw that you shared that Ed Helms, the former stand-up comedian, Daily Show.
Yeah, I felt weird about sending that, but it really bummed me out.
It bums me out too. You didn't, like Ed Helms has announced he's supporting Andrew Yang's Forward Party. And he made a video talking about it, and Christian shared it and was like, this is disappointing because we like Ed, and he's an influential guy, and he's lending his kind of credibility and influence to this bad idea.
I mean, it's not even, listen, I used to know Ed some, and so like it feels a little weird for me just because it's like I don't want to be like, he's a very successful person, and so I don't want to feel like I'm trying to sort of be a barnacle on his ship. But I don't know, it's just the message that he posted and the message of everyone that's involved with the Forward Party. I'm not trying to single Ed out.
Right.
It's like a parody of empty rhetoric. Like you couldn't write something that is less content, that has less content than what he posted and what everybody involved in that. They literally have nothing to say. They will tell you nothing about what they stand for other than the two-party system is bad, or like and people are getting left behind and we need to move forward, not left, not right, forward. Okay, what the fuck does that mean? What do you stand for? What do you plan to do if you achieve power? And it tells me one of two things.
And how do you plan to do it?
Yeah. And how? Yeah. And it tells me one of two things. One, either you genuinely don't know or don't have any plans other than just like, hey, I should be in charge. Like, some idiot son whose dad owns the company. Like, I should be the regional manager. Like it's either that empty and vapid, or you don't want to say what it is you stand for because that people wouldn't like it. So it's either of those, is not inspiring. And I have so little respect for that entire endeavor, especially it's like, all right, you want to, why president? Why president? How about alderman? How about, town council? I would probably heavily consider voting for someone from the Forward Party if they were running for town council or, even, mayor of a small town. I used to vote for third party candidates for small elections on principle. Like I've voted for libertarians. I've voted for working family people. I would not vote for a libertarian now, but back in the 90s and, 2000s, before I kind of was super in, when I was less knowledgeable than I am now. I'm not to say that I'm super knowledgeable now, but I love the idea of third parties, but why does it have to start with president? Yeah. Why does it have to start at the top? That just tells me that you're completely unwilling to do the work. It says we just want to be in charge, and we basically just want to recreate the same hierarchy that already exists in the major two parties. We just want it to be us, and we want to skip all the legwork. We want to create our own bureaucracy, not their bureaucracy. I mean, so yeah, I find the whole endeavor so humiliating to everyone involved, especially given like what the stakes are and what's going on in this country right now. The idea that like, oh, everybody's crazy on the left and the right. It's like, okay, yeah, the left has their crazy people. We don't elect them. We don't, we're not the crazy people on the left are annoying. The crazy people on the right are dangerous. There's a difference.
Very well said. I may steal that. And by the way, I just think it's worth mentioning if you want to identify politically as a label with a party or an ideology, it is worth mentioning that in the time that you and I have been paying attention to politics in the last 10 to 15 years since Barack Obama became president, the Democratic Party has become a very different party ideologically in terms of, I guess you could say they're more progressive, but there's a way more of an influence of grassroots activists electing, quote, normal people, and they're actually getting a lot done. And I think it's worth changing your view when changes occur on, in this case, like I
would say that not only is, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
I was just saying, I didn't identify as a Democrat for years. I was always like called myself an independent. I was very progressive, but I did because I felt like they were so corporate and they were so moderate and so wrong on so many things.
In the age of like the blue dogs, like that era, I mean, the post-Clinton era.
Concerned. Yeah. So that now I definitely identify as a Democrat. I'm involved with the local Democrats here in my town. And of course, I am following closely at all levels.
I would say that not only is that not a coincidence, I would say that I think for a lot of these Andrew Yang types, that is why they no longer want to be a part of the Democratic Party, is because it's actually the exact opposite of what they claim, which is like, oh, this bureaucracy, this two-party system, this the uniparty. It's like, no, what made you feel less welcome is that that more grassroots activists are getting elected, and that there is some genuine progressive energy taking the Democratic Party away from their sort of corporatist. I mean, there's still a lot of fucking corporatism in the Democratic Party. Let's be honest. But to me, it's just like, you don't like that. The Democratic Party used to embrace these sort of centrist corporate, douchebags. And now they're not as much. And so therefore you want to start a new party, right? Is the way I see it. It's like, it's not like, oh my God, this Democratic Party, there's so much, bureaucracy. We need to start fresh with outsiders. It's like, no, you want the same thing. You just want you to be in charge of it instead.
So much more to talk about with the way that the two parties have gone in our lives alone. But boy, looking at the debate last night, did you watch it? You tweeted. I started to. I don't have cable anymore. I'm a cord cutter. I'm kind of a hip Gen Z type. But once I realized, but I do have like the ABC app, on my Roku or whatever. And I knew Fox News was sponsoring the debate, but for whatever reason, I'm an idiot. I kind of forgot that these primary debates, they're not on all the channels. Like, it's not something you can just tune into anywhere. Just proprietary. Yeah, Fox News had it. And so I was super relieved when I realized that I was not able to watch it. Well, you got to come to our hangout next debate. We had a riot because we were pausing it, making jokes, pausing it to gather our feelings when someone said something that was so upsetting. And we also fast forwarded through Mike Pence. It was like a fun way to watch it with a bunch of people. And I think if you were there. Yeah, well, we used to, and we might do them more in the future. We do watch parties at QED, like MST 3K style. Which is a lot of fun. Yeah. We didn't do it this time because it was the first debate, and also because my wife is out of town, and it just didn't make sense. But we probably will for the future because ones. It's with this cast of characters. What are your thoughts on? I mean, I've seen the write ups and the various clips that have been circulating, but I did not watch it in real time. Well, you have been getting to know Vivek. Everybody, we're all talking about Vivek Ramaswamy. And I want to know what you think, how you articulate your feelings about this person, because I've been waiting to ask you about him for the last month. Well, first of all, just dovetailing on what I was talking to 5 minutes ago, is just like, again, why president? Why president? How about senator? How about representative? How about, how about you do anything that tells me that this is not just an exercise in personal branding, which is what it feels like entirely. It feels like he is just trying to, same thing with Andrew Yang. It was the same deal. It's like, I just basically want to up my name ID. And, I just,
I think it's true that he didn't vote until 2020.
That's right.
He had never voted for president until 2020.
Most of his life.
How can I even begin to take you seriously? You know, and there's 1,000 reasons I wouldn't take him seriously. That just braying sort of tech bro smile and laugh that he always does, you know, which is just like, you know, which is not even passive aggressive. It's an aggressive way. Like when someone would say something to him and he would just start like laughing and smiling. It's just that annoying debate me bro personality type. And, you know, and I give him credit that he has his talking points down. He's very polished and he speaks very well, like extemporaneously.
Yep.
But it feels so performative and just so completely vacant of any sort of personal conviction. It just feels entirely market based.
Yeah.
It's just like, yes. I see what I know. It's like when you're doing a comedian, you're doing a show and you're like, oh, I know what bit I'll do. Yeah. This bit will kill.
Choosing your material for the demographic.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because as I'm sure you've seen going around social media, there's like older clips where he's talking about like Happy Juneteenth and like kind of more of the center right Republican, like I'm the new face Republicans and we need diversity and things like that. And clearly he's like, oh, well, that's not where the market is. And so I will just be this instead.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that there's any, you know, I think these early days of a presidential campaign, you know, we always convince ourselves like, oh my God, Ben Carson, here he comes, you know. Yep. What's the dude, the pizza guy? Herman Cain, you know.
Trump killed him with COVID.
Yeah, that's right. Or caught, yes. Which is crazy that was not a bigger deal. It's like, dude literally died.
If you look
attending
for
a Trump
that
rally
in the internet, it's a pretty big deal. It's quite a meme, apparently.
Well, I know, but it's just like you think that would have had more of an effect, you know. And I think it was Matt Schlapp was saying about when Tim Scott announced, where he's like, as you've seen, the Republican Party has a history recently of elevating the candidates of color early in the race, like as if that made them seem good. Like remember how we spent those 6 weeks pretending that Herman Cain might be president? Aren't we? You know, see, we're not racist.
And Ben Carson,
and Ben Carson, and so you know, I will believe it when I see it that this is anything more than just kind of a name ID campaign.
It is fun to watch them batter each other, though. I did like that quite a bit. I like them going after each other. And does Mike Pence strike you as the hollowest, phoniest, worst actor? Politicians have to have an element of acting performance.
I don't know. I mean, the clips I saw, it reminded me of how angry he made me during the debate with Kamala Harris, because you know, he's thought of as being a drip, which of course he is, but he's also a real chauvinist bully as well. And I mean, chauvinism wasn't really on display last night per se, but just that the bell went off 30 seconds ago. And not only am I not wrapping up, I'm starting a new thought, and I'm basically just going to keep talking until literally, you know, I'm going to talk long enough after my time is done to make the point that you can't stop me from talking. Do you know what I mean? And he's not like, he's not showy like Trump is, but he's just like a bulldozer, a conversational bulldozer where he'll just talk. I mean, and none of it's memorable and none of it's interesting or particularly insightful.
Right.
But it's weirdly Trumpy in the sense that it is just like, I am going to completely disregard the rules and just to show you that I can.
I love
that's the vibe I get from him.
Yeah. Yes. That was a perfect distillation of his style. Certainly last night. He came off also as a bit rough and angry, which I thought was, I mean, the whole thing though is just it's so poor. I love when they go into their JFK MLK cadence right at the end. And that is why we are going, and they get nothing from the audience. Imagine like committing that much to a bit, to a flourish, and having nothing. Well, we can't imagine that, but like, you know what's happening. And it's more cringe to watch a Mike Pence or a Tim Scott do it. They both did it last night.
My whole thinking is, you know, I watch these political candidates perform, and I'm not saying performing as an insult. You have to, you're a public speaker. You have to perform. Yeah. You have to know how to hit a thought.
No one told that to Howard Bergman.
Who?
No one told that to the North Dakota governor because he didn't.
Oh, Burgum.
He didn't, but yes, finish your thought about why this.
But I'm saying there is craft involved in being a public speaker,
sure.
And I'm not trying to diminish that or say that makes them less, sincere in their beliefs. But there is a way that people perform when they are a political candidate, and some of the things that I see candidates do, Hillary was like the perfect example of that. Like when you would see a casual conversation or an extemporaneous conversation with Hillary Clinton, you're like, oh my God, this woman is so smart. She's so on top of her shit. You can ask her about anything and she'll have a nuanced, insightful take on it. But then when she would make her speeches, everything was like this in sort of one volume dynamic. And clearly someone has told her to do that. There are people, and I'm not trying to pull her out. You can pull anybody out, but there's clearly a scaffold of public speaking coaches that teach these candidates to perform terribly, to perform badly. And maybe it's because we're comedians, and so I see it in a different light.
Right.
Maybe there's some market research that says that Joe Q public loves to be shouted out in a monotone for 40 minutes. But I don't buy it. And increasingly now, especially when there's social media, when you can see candidates speak in a more casual, thoughtful way, that thing you're talking about, that dumb MLK bullshit, it rings so false to me. And I wonder why no one has stepped in and just be like, hey, you know what? People don't like that. Just talk like a normal person. When the bell ends, finish. Just end. Because the 30 seconds of sort of scripted banter that you have tacked on to the end, nobody wants to hear it and nobody likes it, and get rid of it.
I think I just, as you were explaining that, realized that it actually worked for Barack Obama. It actually, technique worked for him. And I think part of why he got away with it, or why anybody gets away with that, is because the audience is there with them or just before them. It's like, I've got to talk over you because you're loving what I'm saying so much that I'm going to go with you. And they're kind of riding the same wave. And he was good at doing it. And he was just so damn likable. And you believed him, I guess. I don't know. So
he was a natural performer. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that as an insulting thing. I'm complimenting him. I mean, but he's good at it. But even Obama, it's like, yes, I know he would get into that sort of, yes, we can cadence and all that. But he understood, like, here's where I pull back a little. Here's where I get louder. Here's why I joke. Here's why I get a little quieter, and some of that is just, you can't teach, but some of it you can. But that's why it's so funny when, like, you're talking about the transition is so abrupt when they switch on, like, oh, okay, time to enter my dismount.
They rehearsed it because they've rehearsed. You don't rehearse those flourishes. Don't go there if they're not there with you. It's a fool's errand. But I do think that this is worth talking about because we're going to see a lot more of this, and people will get the kind of the analysis of the performer and why this doesn't, translate to a lot of people. But it's fun to watch them fail like that. I also think the most important thing, of course, is that Donald Trump is so far out ahead that he wasn't even there. How much do these debates even really matter? Donald Trump is probably going to be convicted before the final primaries are in. He'll it's highly likely he's going to be convicted of a lot of crimes and also be the nominee. Highly likely.
Oh, I would, prohibitively the most likely situation.
So the debates themselves are for second place. They're for the next time around.
They're for name ID. They're for the next time around. They're for just general name ID. And again, it's like, you poo-poo it, but it works. I mean,
sure. No.
Think of the Andrew Yangs. I mean, it's. I'm sure he thought that would at least parlay him into being mayor of New York, and that didn't work. But
right.
It will, Vivek, I'm sure he will have a long career based on him doing so well so far in this campaign. It won't be as president, but, I hate it, but it works.
Can a Hindu get elected in a Republican primary?
It's funny because I'm trying not to just go to the knee-jerk assumption that the answer is no, because I don't want to sort of, in trying to make fun of Republicans for being racist, end up sort of being racist myself. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want to scoff at it. Answer is no, but I'm trying to check myself on that. Whereas like, I want to disregard him for other reasons. I don't want that to be the reason why I was like, oh, this guy's never going to win.
To be fair, the context of this conversation is we did pretty well already. And I think the bottom line is that no, he can't. I'd be surprised if he could. Maybe they don't know that he is, and maybe that won't come out. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be leaflets on voters' windshields if he gets anywhere close to, winning
Trump,
a primary.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, if Trump starts to feel threatened in any way, shape, or form, it'll become an issue, and it'll start as a sort of, Reddit 4chan whisper campaign.
Listen, I worship one God. Okay, one, just one.
Yeah, he'll start very ostentatiously eating hamburgers in front of him. Like it'll be, it'll be a whole campaign. I
just think the threat of Christian nationalism is so strong within Republican primary voters, especially.
But that's why you see him so aggressively kind of trying to paint himself as a fellow traveler. And I will say I wouldn't say in his defense, but if there was ever a time where Hindu nationalism and white nationalism sort of were dovetailing, it's right now. I mean, with what's going on in India.
That's a great point.
What Modi is doing is not altogether, or what's happening in India is not altogether different than what's happening here. And so I think that's why he tries to sort of paint himself. He doesn't ever talk about being a Hindu, but I think that's sort of the idea is like, hey, don't worry, I may not be a Christian, but I am a fascist. So don't worry. You know what I mean? Like I got your back. And I do think that there's for at least for a period of time, there is kind of people always talk about liberals and Democrats virtue signaling. I think that there will be a period of time where people really lift Ramaswamy up the same way again with that Herman Cain, Ben Carson thing is kind of like, see, we like this guy. He's not white. But then eventually it's like, okay, well, now it's time to get serious.
Exactly. Before I let you go, I do have to ask you your feelings, your thoughts when you saw yesterday all these mugshots, particularly Rudy Giuliani's, having been in New York when he was mayor and follow his career in disasters as long as we have. What did you think when you saw all those headshots, this fourth indictment? I haven't talked to you. And of course, I haven't seen Trump's headshot yet. If it's out, his mugshot, I haven't seen it. We're talking on Thursday, just before 5 p.m. But what do you...
What you can't see in Giuliani's headshot is that they are dangling a giant hunk of cheese above his head, which he's...
I did not know that. Who's reporting that? All media outlets?
Rats Weekly.
Oh,
he looks like a rodent. He's always looked like a rodent to me. This weird little mouth and his sort of pointy nose and chin. Like he always has looked like some sort of, like one of those blind mole rats. And he looked particularly vermin-like in the headshot. So I thought that was it captured it well. It does bum you out that we're no longer in the days of like holding up the plaque. I mean, that would have been even better.
Right. But, with their name and number and inmate number on it or whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard people say that it's a little absurd that they're making Trump and Giuliani get mugshots, period, because the whole point of a mugshot is to keep people from fleeing. And it's like, well, pretty well-known people. I mean, certainly with Trump, but I see Bonnie Willis. I see Atlanta's, Fulton County's point as well. It's like, no, we're doing it like we would do with anybody else. And this is what happens to prisoners and they're no different. So I love it. I mean, I was talking to somebody yesterday and I really just hope that the Democrats don't try to finesse this and try to be clever and try to be strategic about these legal issues. Just follow them where they go. Don't try to game out like, who is this good? Like, is this good for Trump? Is this bad for Trump? Like, is this good for Democrats? Like, does this make him more likely to get elected or less likely? If the laws are broken and the cases are supported by facts, they should be pursued and let the chips fall where they may. And so, like, even me, I found myself slightly like getting nervous about Fonnie Willis. Like, well, 19, like, defendants, like that just seems like a clusterfuck. And is this going to seem like overreach? And it's like, no, stop it. These are professionals. They're following the rule of law. The only reason there aren't more defendants with Jack Smith is just because he's not going to get to them yet, because he wants to, make this thing as quick as possible.
Right.
And so it's like, I'm just trying to not, I just hope that Democrats have just such a history of trying to be too clever by half and trying to have their cake and eat it too. It's like, well, we're going to go after them legally, but we also don't want to push it too hard. Like, just follow it where it goes. And because nothing, I feel like, we could all, and even us from people who aren't involved, just you and me, average schmoes, we could spend all of our time gaming out how we're going to pursue justice on a large scale. And we might be wrong. We might be right. But we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. And so just follow the law. Just follow the law. If people broke the law, they should go to jail, period. Or they should be tried.
One of the things I learned about Bonnie Willis that kind of brought some data to this point you're making, this concern you had, is that she once, not too long ago, 2013, one of her big cases was she prosecuted like 11 teachers for a cheating scandal. Teachers, which are, usually don't go after them, and they're supposed to be, pro-Democrat and so on. And so a lot of, and I think it was a similar, it was the RICO Act that she used.
It was RICO, yeah.
And so I think that, she's done this kind of thing before, and they have a lot more evidence on these people that they were carrying out a conspiracy, a crime. And I don't know. I trust that they must know what they're doing, because it would be really bad. And it's almost like those who have been prosecuted and been indicted, they're all lawyers. How did they think they were going to get away with it? They're the bad ones. These prosecutors are not the ones doing corrupt things, generally speaking.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that not wanting to upset the apple cart is a defensible strategy at this point. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I mean, you're not going to just make up charges out of thin air, and you're not going to just be totally performative in the way you go about this. But it's like the idea of like, hey, well, we'll only half hold them to account, because then maybe they'll appreciate that. They won't. They will not appreciate it. Even if all the charges against Trump and everyone were dropped right now, even if Jack Smith and Fonnie Willis and Alvin Bragg and, if they all said, you know what, we were completely wrong. We apologize to Donald Trump. In fact, now we're going to look into election. We're going to look into election integrity from 2020, because maybe he had a point. Even if he did all of that, there is not one Republican in this country who is going to all of a sudden be like, you know what? Got to tip my cap to these people. They were right. And you know what? Maybe I'm going to vote for them next time because they came around and they were honest. You know what I mean? There's nothing to be gained from that. Yeah. So just do your job and follow it where it goes.
Very well said. All right, man. Great catching up with you. Always great talking to you.
I feel like we've solved this, which is important. I feel like this whole Trump prosecution thing, I feel like we've really gotten to the nitty gritty of it. And hopefully Fonnie Willis is listening and feels encouraged by our conversation.
Oh, she's a huge listener. Big subscriber. She'll probably be at the Hangout.
Probably.
Hey, is that Fonnie? I call her Fonnie.
It is so... I'm sorry. I know we got to go. But Trump keeps calling her Fonnie Willis.
Oh.
When Fonnie Willis is right there. Like, he should just be calling her Fonnie Willis all the time.
Yeah. He misspelled stolen again. 2 L's. That's not...
Yeah.
Like, that's a mistake.
But I'm saying, Fonnie Willis, even I would be like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's
for sure.
Yeah. Some of
Fonnie Willis is... Yeah. There's still time, Trump, if you're listening. Trump's also a big listener.
Huge listener. Also probably be stopping by to hang out. Christian, thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, there you go, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Christian. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you got a lot out of his thoughts and analysis around the Forward Party, the debates, and everything else, as I always do. I love his interpretation on things, so I hope you do as well. That's all I've got for you on this Saturday. I hope that you have a great weekend. Go write a review of this podcast if you're doing nothing else on iTunes and Spotify. And I want you to know I appreciate you and love you and thank you. And that's it. I'm going to stop talking and head out for a run on the National Mall.
When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up. Stand up. I think you're driving wheels with leaking grease. Boy, you better stand up. Stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know what's right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. You got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. Don't get up off of your butt, down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense. And you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of a stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up. We got to reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up. You got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand